Welcome in, Gen G. I'm Axman87, and you're watching or listening to Gringos Liberados. I'm Axman87. We got Trajan, we got 4x4 here with me as well. Gentlemen, it has been a busy week in the CBLOL. I was sick like the week before last, so I missed a lot of Liberty wins. That was pretty disappointing, but I want to hear from you guys.
Well, you were there for the big one.
Everybody.
You were there for the biggest one.
I was there for the real big one. I was casting the real big one.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to shut up about it. But how are you guys been this last week?
Been good, man. Been cooking, I'll be honest. It's a busy time. And I've organized a lot of social stuff for next week and go on holiday next weekend. And got a load of other, like, hanging out with people I don't get to see much in March. So that's going to be nice. But for now,
hell yeah,
there's been a lot of gaming occurring, a lot of esports happening, and that's how we like it.
Gotcha.
You did a little Scottish tournament over the weekend.
I would have been there. A Scottish tournament did happen, but the spectator client was in the emergency room at the time, so I did not cast it.
That's so ass.
But it did happen, so there's still Scottish esports going on, and I was there, so that's cool.
Yeah,
that's brutal. That sucks.
That fix came through super late too. Normally
Yes,
we'd find a way around it, but that one took a couple days, which was surprising.
That
to me.
sucks.
Yeah.
What do you got 4x4? What'd you do this week?
Let's see. Last weekend I did a lot of translation work for Valorant for VCT.
That's cool. By the way,
it's fun, dude. Bro, it got me like it scratched an itch, man. Like I don't know, watching NA and Brazil, my two favorite regions, actually be like elite in an esport. Like it's sweet, man. Watch them and be like, oh, this is the peak of the esport right here. Like this is really cool, actually. I've gotten like invested in the players, invested in the storylines and stuff. I am VCT pilled for sure. To the point where I casted my first Val game last night in 3 years. Shout out to Shibby, who both you guys know.
Jeez.
And yeah, dude, because it came out in the pandemic, right? 2020. And
4 years old.
Yeah, yeah, wild. And it was a best of 3, and in map 1, it was hot garbage. I was so bad. And Shibby, God bless him, dude.
It seems hard to cast.
Yeah.
I think I got it like towards the end, but it's so like the rhythm of it as a play-by-play is very different, and I think like you have to carry more of the load. Whereas like I feel like in League, it's like as a play-by-play, you're almost like the color will say something, and you kind of like as a play-by-play, you're almost like the guideposts, right? And you kind of steer the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like it's not like the opposite, but I feel like you just do a lot more talking as a play-by-play in Val, because like the round, it's like it's like a lot of action, and the color just kind of gets us points in between rounds, and the color has to like pop in very quickly, and like you have to like you can't like let the color get in, because all of a sudden you could flip to someone else's perspective and someone just one tap and jet dashes away, like and so you have to it was a very different rhythm. And so but Shibby bailed me out, man. By map 2 I found a better rhythm, but map 1 was it was hot garbage. It was so bad, but luckily all uphill from there, and I had a lot of fun.
Praise be to Shibby.
I feel like a lot of league casters don't understand how good we have it, having one map consistently for 14 years. Because no other esport has that.
Yeah, we live in a sandbox that changes once annually, very slightly, and like
and everyone
and the
loses their minds.
Yeah, as soon as it changes. But like the rhythm of the game is so structured that being able to break out of that is something that only the best casters can do in a good way, and it's such a great set of safety wheels, like training wheels for casters, when you know what's going to happen and when, and you can prepare yourself to be ready to cast a certain type of situation. We do have it really, really easy. We have to know 170 champions, but the game is fairly structured.
Yeah, that part's really hard. All right, cool. Introductions done. Got everybody in. Glad you guys had a good week, and glad we're breaking into other esports. I think it'd be exciting to cast Brazilians who are like world class too. I think that'd be really cool.
But
we
Siege,
can
man.
be world class
Six Siege.
in League. I love Rainbow Six Siege. Don't get me started on Rainbow Six
World
Siege.
Final. That World Final was
6-1 comeback
real.
With twins on either side.
What? Never watched a second of Siege in my life. I was invested in that.
Yeah.
Just absolute cinema.
Cool game.
It was cinema for real.
All right, cool.
League of
Let's
Legends.
Get into it, though. Let's get into it. Yeah, League of Legends. Sorry. That introduction was 6 times longer than it should have been. My bad. Cool. I want to get into something. This will be quick. We can blow through this real quick. I want to put a number on it, either this week or the week before. Again, I've been sick, so I'm a little hairy on like the details the last 2 weeks. FURIA blew up their roster in a way that we haven't really seen, like this specific way. They brought in Destroy and Mir this split to kind of bolster their core 3 that they have around the bottom side of the map, to bring what they thought was a good core, good middle of the pack core into playoffs contention, into the forefront of the league. Mixed results, I would say, at the midpoint. Not good. It didn't do what they wanted. So through certain circumstances, Mir and Destroy and some Korean members of staff were removed from the FURIA roster. I'm very intentionally using this language because I don't know specifically, and I don't think FURIA actually said if they were let go, fired, left the team, what exactly happened. So
they left the country was the first we all heard about it. Was like
they
Mir
had
Destroy
left,
are not here.
Which is how you knew that it was like, oh, this isn't like, oh, we're gonna like bench him for a bit, bring the academy. It was like, no, Destroy and Mir, they are no longer here. Oh, they're not. No, they
removed.
Are in another hemisphere. They are gone.
They did the Los Grandes. They like took their import jungle top lane and went, nah, it's not working. You can go actually. And they went, okay, see ya. And they dipped. And then they brought in the academies. So, you know, with Los Grandes, it was Hidan and NL, who I thought Hidan was pretty good. I thought we all kind of failed to notice NL doing much of anything. And we kind of thought the same thing would happen with Furia, right? We thought, like, you know, Shino, and I called him Zyno in the first day because, you know, just... But, so Shino and Steiner, we all thought the same would happen. And after the first game, we all thought the same was happening. And then the second game, we stopped thinking that was happening. Because Shino went a bit crazy on them. We went a bit crazy. And the Academy top laners continue to deliver some pretty insane performances, you know.
Yeah, and Steiner did pretty well too as well. I think there was like one
steal,
fight I remember
big Baron steal or something.
Later game, and I think that both he and Shino got caught out a little bit. But that was more just like a consequence of the composition they had drafted. But I want everybody to put a number on it. How many wins does FURIA get with the Academy players in? They have 6 games left, so it's between 0 and 6. They're 3-8 right now. A lot of those games were with Mirror Destroy, of course. I think it's just 2 games with the Academy players in. So how many wins
at some point, right? they've got at least one freebie dub in there. Like
it's really only INTZ and Los. Everybody else they're playing playoff teams.
Yeah, the other ones are all getting so good, man. And like Los went 0-2, and it was kind of a dip for them, but they've looked so good over the past few weeks, and they lost to like Red and they lost to Red, I think. They went 1-1 in this week, and before that they'd lost like VKS who were in first and KaBuM who were in second, and you know they beat Loud already. So like, there's not really any other freebies, and Shino and Steiner looked solid, but I don't know if they actually take it over anyone else still.
This is important because you mentioned strength of schedule a little bit. I'll read out the strength of schedule so we can get a little bit more accurate.
Yeah, who are they up against
here? Okay, so in order, the next 6 games for FURIA are Loud, INTZ, Los Grandes, VKS, KaBuM, and Red.
It's like 2 maybe max.
Yeah,
surely.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, looking at the strength of schedule, this maybe isn't like the most contentious question. I think they maybe get 1.
I think they get 1. I think they take INTZ out, and there's always the potential that Loud has another Loud incident. And Red as well, to be honest, they lost to INTZ. They've had incidents of their own, but I don't think they will. I think by the time these 2 teams go against Furia, they'll be close enough to playoffs that they'll be in a better place. And I don't know if the ceiling for Furia is going to get any higher, because like we were excited by how well the Academy promotions did, but I'm still not that excited about how the core is doing. I want the core to be good, man, and we just still haven't seen enough from them. That was the point of this roster for me, was keeping that core, and I ain't seen them all season, man. I ain't seen them. I saw that one Zai Pike game and the Varus flashing quadra kill. That's all I've seen. Like, so I think
Zai's hard carrying that core right now. I don't think IU's had like what I would call a really good IU game in maybe 3 weeks.
Yeah,
which is like
he's
rounds.
been definitely under the radar, which is unfortunate because that was like, yep, yep, he did. And so I mean that's above the radar, I guess, which isn't really an expression, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, no, and it's unfortunate because that was IU's whole brand was that, oh, he's gonna be the next Ninja Kiwi, this just like really elo held player, but he's just mechanically extremely gifted, and I don't think those things aren't true anymore. Just for whatever reason, it hasn't seemed as apparent. I don't know if it's just the team is just falling apart around him. I think they'll get 2 wins. I think they'll steal a win off somebody. I think again they beat INTZ because that team looks really down in the dumps right now. But I think they could take one off Lowe's. Shoot, they could once they're eliminated, and let's say, I don't know, KaBuM and Cade Stars, or maybe all, they've got the seeding locked up. Maybe they could take another one here. But I do think that the synergy will get better, right? This roster was 5 Brazilians last year when everyone was raving about them. It seems like that matters, right? And so I hope for IU Zion Tuts' sake, but more so IU because he is kind of the next crown jewel of like really gifted Brazilian AD carries, and the hype really has, I mean, to be generous, it's flattened out. To be critical, it has dropped off a cliff for IU.
Yeah. There was a time when people, I think Rudy'd was raging about this at one point, when people were like, if you could build a super team with like all of the best players from like one from each region, and people putting IU in there after he'd played 1 season and not qualified for playoffs or never been international, like they were like crypto stocking him. Like he was completely he was Tesla valued, you know what I mean? He was crazy overvalued by the community, and he's very good.
He was in the Worlds video.
Yeah, right? Like, they put him in the Worlds video for absolutely zero. Like, literally, man has not achieved anything. But, like, he's very good. And we maybe just see a bit of a Ninja Kiwi. We saw a couple of flat spits for Ninja Kiwi after his Renska debut. He has then continued to show us that there is still that Ninja Kiwi pro in there. IU has shown us a couple times there is still that IU in there. We just need to see it seems like the environment is so important for the AD carries in this league. The environment is so important. And I guess that makes sense, right? The whole role is designed to be built up and supported by your teammates, so they can allow you to do your work.
And one final note here, I'll squeeze in, Ax. I know we're trying to move us along here, and I don't even know kind of where I want to take this, but this is just kind of a thought that I had that I found interesting. Was a big, like you said, they not only destroying merely, but a lot of the Korean coaching staff went, specifically SBS, who was an assistant coach at FURIA, and the whole shtick, and again, when the IU hype train was firing on all cylinders, was going a million miles an hour, part of that discussion was SBS and how he came in and didn't try to impose this like very traditionally Korean way of playing and this very traditionally Korean structure of like, no, you must play the meta, you must play slow, right? He actually came in and said, look, no, there are a lot of good things we can bring from Korea, which are kind of these base level fundamentals that no matter across what region you need to be good at to play, League of Legends at the highest level. But I'm not going to stifle your creativity, right? You're a 17-year-old wonder kid who used to be a Katarina. Actually, I forget if it's him or Zai that was the Katarina OTP. But point is, you've got insano mechanics, right? The hype's at an all-time high with you. I'm not going to try to stifle that, right? We're going to try to build things around our star players because Tuts, he's extremely serviceable, right? ZZK could have played anything. Goot, ultimate facilitator jungler who can also play a Viego here and there, right? It seemed like the structure was more in place. The roster was built a little more intentionally, and the coaching staff around him seemed to let him thrive. And now with SBS kind of being let go, you wonder kind of what went wrong. I'm not here trying to stir the pot or start a conspiracy theory, but it is interesting that I feel like the identity of this team really has shifted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it really has. I'm gonna leave it there. I feel like I could genuinely talk about FURIA for like the full hour, so I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah.
And we'll move into our next point here. For Life Fair, you and I cast the game over the weekend, and it was probably my favorite game of the year so far.
You were losing your mind.
I was losing my mind. So 4i4 and I had to go like after the show and like have it come to Jesus and be like, that wasn't like good casting, but
there's a lot of screaming.
But I was so excited. I'm so sorry.
It was fun. It brought energy. Like you could have a very fundamentally sound cast that does absolutely just jack poo for the audience, and that did not do that. That is better than your average cast. It was a little wild and woolly there at the end, but it was a good cast.
It was fine. It was totally fine. We're talking about Loud versus Liberty, and it was funny when I was building with this run of show. I built it off the episode 5 one, And in episode 5, when I'm changing out the points and stuff, there was a point that said, Loud's defeat to loss. Is the giant falling? Check in on Redbird. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll just change loss to Liberty and Redbird to Robo. And we're fine. Perfect.
Sorry.
Awesome. Exactly the same position as there in episode 5. So Loud's defeat to Liberty, gentlemen, is the giant falling. And then we'll check in on Robo. If you look at the standings right now, the standings pretty much tell the story for me. 9-3 Pain Gaming, 9-3 Vivocade. Where's Loud? Okay, they must be next. 8-4 KaBuM. Okay, where's Loud? They certainly must be next. And finally, at 4th position is Loud. And just 2 slots behind them is Liberty. What? Yeah. What the hell? What happened? I mean, to watch this game, I made such a general statement at the top of it. It's almost something that we try not to do as casters because it sounds like we're just like trying to fill air and we don't know what we're talking about. The 4x4 was like, what's the win condition for Liberty? And I was like, it has to be the perfect positioning at the perfect moment. And that is exactly what it came down to. This like last minute fight. Liberty, Robo really just running in and giving them an angle, but then Piloto hitting the perfect max range Shurima shuffle for a triple. Mikau following up perfectly, the best positioning we've seen for Mikau in years, and getting the damage down for a triple kill. It was just so perfect, and I just loved it so much. I want to hear you guys' opinion. What's the deal with Loud?
So the thing with Loud that really interested me, and this ties into the Robo check-in, is we saw the backstage videos from Loud, and we saw a decent chunk of footage of Stardust basically saying to Robo, like, it is unacceptable and unreasonable that you die in these ways, because it just is. Like, we have all these plans, and you can complain about us not coming top lane all you want, but if you're, to paraphrase, running it down in the first few minutes, what are we supposed to do for you? And like, we can't dedicate time top because you've already thrown the lane away before we can even get there, after we've decided to try and help you top. And that's he's hit the nail on the head, has Stardust here. You know, we've questioned sometimes the results of his coaching, but he's completely pegged Robo to the wall. Like, Robo sometimes will just completely throw away a situation before it has a chance to be good, because that's how he plays, right? We've seen the level 1s from the grand finals last split. We've seen what he does. That's just Robo, and he's always been this way, and it seems like he's probably always going to be this way. Now, this is maybe the worry that we had as to how Stardust would mesh with Loud as a team, because they have seemed quite set in their ways. And Stardust, I think, has come in and gone, what are you doing? What are these ways? Why are we doing it like this? And I guess the answer is because it works. But it doesn't necessarily look like it always works. And I think with Robo, I'm worried that, for me, I think this is the reason why I always feel like Loud is capped and we need to overcome Loud as a region before we can grow anymore, is because I feel like he doesn't change. His problems don't get solved. His strengths do not change. And we should be able to just figure this out. We should be able to solve Robo, and I think at some point we are. We have so many godlike top laners now that we're going to start solving Robo, even in a best of 5. And I don't know if Stardust is going to be able to be that solution. He's clearly identified the problem, but he's not going to be the first or the last to do so, and I don't know if he's going to be able to actually fix the problem. So I think Robo is symbolic. He's not the only problem with Loud. I've been harsh on Robo in the past. He's not the one problem with Loud, but he is symbolic of the problem with Loud to me. And I think that this is another season that is indicative of it. And this reason just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And we say this every season. I think this might be the season where we finally overcome what Loud has been doing for 3 splits in a row.
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we could always, it's like, bet against Loud is a pretty hilarious tactic that does not work.
Like I've done this every split. I've made the case for Loud's a downfall, and then when it's a nut cutting time, they show up big. Look, Liberty ended up winning this game. The final kill score was 16-4. Or no, excuse me, 14-6. 14-6. Right? So Loud lost a game-losing fight there. That would have you to believe that Liberty had at fewest 1 kill and at most like 3 kills going into that fight, where Loud had 12.
It was just one.
They had just one. Like you said, Axe, it was a bit of kind of like, is this analysis? But like, it really did feel like, no, like Liberty needed an absolute, like, they needed a god game from Drake, because the competition was Cassante, Drake, or excuse me, Cassante, Viego, Azir, Smolder, Nautilus. That comp doesn't do anything until 20 minutes. You have drafted yourself 3 losing lanes. and then a Viego. Viego went 0-1-4. Viego has to be the bridge there, right? Viego did nothing. They found the one good fight because Robo went forward on a champion like Garen that actually has strengths, but he is a run-at-you champion. He cannot be your primary source of engage. And for some reason, he was rocking up on the docks with no Croc, no Redbird behind him, playing Sejuani and Leona, right? Just made of engage, made of CC. Could have set up that fight really, really well. Loud had everything to win that game, and they threw it away. And Liberty, to their credit, they capitalized on it.
Yeah.
They are a really good team. Not really good. They're good. They're fine. They're solid. I got ahead of my skis there. Look,
they're ahead of Loss. They're ahead of Fluxu. They're ahead of Furia. They've certainly got holes in the game, but yeah, they are. Gee, they had a 2. I think they had a 2-0. I think they're on a 4-game win streak now. They were 2-6 like just a moment ago.
Yes, 4-game.
And
4-game win streak. I think my point about Liberty always has been that they're a dev roster. They're not a good team, but they have a lot of talent on the roster, and they're very well coached. I think that's always been my point. I think they did a really good job this game of pulling their moment, but also keeping up with Loud in the sense that like they were never at a point in this game where they couldn't find their moment, right? Like Viego was pulling enough from the other side of the map. He's pulling enough from Summoner's Rift to be able to pull the trigger and get the play started. And I think that's something that is pretty big for Drake Hero. Also, we said check-in on Robo. I kind of picked one member of Loud that threw this game just to keep it in line with the check-in Redbird on thing. But I also I want to point at Root a little bit, and this is always unpopular. I've done this in the past because he's so platinum with the stat line, man. It's so galvanized that you can't really point at him and say, oh, this is the problem with Loud, right? Because he's the rock, and he's the one that's always doing well, even when Loud is doing poorly. But my thing is, if your AD carry starts the game off with a double kill and you don't win, it's on the AD carry, you know? Like, how much more do we have to give to you resource-wise before you could just carry us through these fights? I understand Robo inted it and threw that fight, and maybe that's a fight that you lose. But you also got shuffled by Pilot, one of the worst mid laners in the league, and that's still on you.
Well,
that's not on Robo.
So we need Rudian on this podcast when we start throwing these AD carry allegations out. The like get a double kill and you should win kind of stuff. I'd love to hear his take on this. I think as well that I take issue with one of. Can we just examine one of the worst as a statement? Because this might still be factually true, but it feels bad. Feels wrong.
Pilot?
Yeah. Can we
Pilot
check?
I think Pilot has been much better.
Can we double check one of the worst? Because it's still, in my case, we can say that like some of these top laners are one of the worst, but that's just because they're like 7th out of 7 godlike players. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at. I mean, I feel like we put him above Tuts. We put him above Aethusa. We put him above Grevthar this split. Envy's debatable, but I'd lean towards
I think he's right there, like you
above,
said. 6,
right
7.
now.
Yeah.
Dinkato has been good. I think Dinkato had a bad game last time against Loud, but that's kind of his only bad game. And then you're into like Fu, who's been really good as well. Fu and Pilot, I think for me, are doing a very similar thing this split. So I'd put him in the middle probably, and then there's like House and Leleko, which we can't really say on yet. It's not really enough games to really say that he's like one of the best mids, but he had 2 really, really good games, or 4 really good games now. So, and Tinone. So I think Pilot's at least middle. And like him and Fu are just like, they're new-ish. Pilot's not that new, but you know, they're putting in a hard shift. They are Nosferus of this split for me, right? Pilot is the Nosferus of this split. Super underrated up to this point. Arguably pretty bad up to this point, but is having a blinder of a split and has hopefully crossed that hump and is now, you know, joining the ranks of the good rather than the mid.
Yeah. No, I think Pilot's been very good. I think, you know, look, to be fair to Root, right, you are playing Varus. Yes, he had Flash. He didn't have Cleanse, right? Now, obviously Cleanse doesn't save you from a shuffle because that's a knockup. But, like, I got to watch that fight back. But if Pilot had Flash, EQ Flash Shuffle, Azir could cover a long distance.
It was huge.
Azir can cover.
Yeah, if he has Flash, in theory, it's unavoidable because he'll match your Flash and shuffle you. And if you don't have a stasis or another dash, then there's actually nothing you can do. other than your team helping you, or not be there in the first place, I suppose, right? Which is tough because Azir goes over 8 walls.
Yeah. And Liberty, I mean, I don't know. For me, I'll wrap this one up by saying, Loud, I'm not worried about this game. I give more credit to Liberty than anything for kind of taking their moment, seizing it, and, you know, grabbing the bull by the horns and finishing this game off. Liberty's next 3 games are Pain, KaBuM, and Cade Stars. Again, this is not to be a Liberty hater. I've been very impressed with what they're doing, right? The pilot comeback arc, right? Macau having like a couple really good games on the smolder, right? Still just picking kind of these old man sit back and scale champs. He played Sivir for God's sake.
Yeah, that was hot.
Makes low key look. Makes went 0-5-2. He was a third of his team's deaths, more than a third of his team's deaths. Makes did not have a good Cassante game, right? Robo, he died in that fight. He was 3-1-2 in the whole game. That was only death, right? It was a costly one on Garen.
Can't stress this enough. Almost no one on Loud had died before this fight.
Yeah. Everyone was looking good at that stage.
Yeah, everyone was looking. It was looking like a perfect game.
Yeah. And Liberty, they have taken some scalps. They already beat Pain. They've already beaten Loud. I think they could take one of those 3 games, but I want to see, like, you know, how they lose. They can't get blasted by any of these 3 teams for me to take them seriously. They might well make playoffs, right? But because I think whoever qualifies in 6th is going to be an objectively below average team. Right. Yep. Well, okay. Wow. Congratulations, Hank. The 6th team out of 10 is objectively below average. Fucking stunning analysis. Sorry for cussing.
No, you're correct. You're correct.
Like, I think they're going to kind of be cannon fodder, the 6th spot. I'm happy to be wrong because Red won their first split coming in on the 6th seed, but.
And they've already beaten Pain once. They've now beaten Loud once. They beat Loud. They beat Loud in a team fight from a deficit, which is hard to do. They beat Pain, I believe, from a deficit as well. I don't think they were ahead. They were rocking the whole game.
That was the Makes 1v9 game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the Makes 1v9.
That was
potentially with the Pilot AD LeBlanc, maybe. I don't remember if that was the same game, but
maybe
that might have been their win over FURIA or something. But yeah, that was the Makes 1v9 clutch. So they've won those 2 games from behind. Now it does say something that they're not building big leads. This is not how Loss beats good teams, which is they have really good, clean early and mid games, and then they actually outperform our quote-unquote top teams in League of Legends, right, as a totality, whereas Liberty has like so much CBLOL energy in that.
They're
moment.
Better ARAM gamers. Everyone's in the right moment. They know how to pull the trigger.
Liberty are the best ARAMers in the league, bar none for sure. I love that.
No, they super are.
So, and like KaBuM, who didn't have such a hot week, they had like an 0-2, and they weren't looking as connected as before. Pain, like Dinkado had his off week as well, and like we've seen that Liberty is able to take it to them and find the angle there. So we can't. It's just a team that we can't rule out ever, I think, anymore. Even when they're down, even when they've been outdrafted, quote unquote, even when Macau is 0-6 out of lane or whatever, they can still find the win. And it just feels like maybe some of these other teams like Fluxu or Los Grandes, I wouldn't expect them to have the comeback potential. I expect them to have better gameplay to give them better chances to get wins. But Liberty just has that special sauce, which always leaves the door open.
They really do. They really do. Really quick, we're almost out of time for this talking point. Just like a one-word answer, boys. Does Mikau get Smolder again, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Everyone. Yes.
Yes. Both yeses.
Yes.
Because I think
love it. I love
teams are going to call his bluff. They're going to say,
is bad.
You're not going to keep getting away with this, old man. Like,
bad.
There's no way.
Yeah, he's the only
I would
guy
look
who
for him
play
to keep getting away with it. But other teams are going to let him play
That's
because
the angle.
There
really
are
think
such
it is.
clear ways to blast this champion.
Yeah, and they all keep picking it and getting blasted.
He's monstrous. Yeah.
Like Titan picked it and lost.
He will get it for sure. He might even win on it again. But
I think it's awesome.
I think he's gonna win it again.
I think it's so awesome.
For sure.
Oh, if Liberty get... Okay, I said this is going to be short. Okay, cool. Very good. Let's... excuse me. Do we have the standings graphic ready, or is that... is that something we would have to...
I can have it ready.
I can just read it.
In a moment.
I can just read it.
Yeah.
While you pull that up,
talk through I will get it up in a moment. Yeah.
Very cool.
I had
we could just start reading it because it's a podcast. We just read stuff. Want to talk to you a little bit about the standings. So standings pretty weird right now. We kind of talked about the top 4 a little bit earlier. Pain Gaming, Vivo Cade tied at 9-3. KaBuM 8-4. Loud at 7-5, bringing up 4th place. Red still in the middle, 7-5. Then Liberty right behind them, 6-6. Lost, Fluxu, Furia, and INTZ, kind of our feeder team at 1-11. That was something we talked about a couple weeks ago. Was that you know, we thought we wouldn't have a feeder team this split. We thought everybody was pretty even at the bottom, but INTZ kind of developed out as that bottom tier team. Guys, what do we think about the standings?
I mean, definitely spicy. But again, I think strength of schedule is going to play a big role in things going down the home stretch here. Because I think in soccer, there's an expression: the league table lies. Right? It's so who's in a false position. I think maybe that's how I'm going to take this question. Liberty, I think, are in a bit of a false position again. They are 1 game above 7th and 8th, and they have a murderer's row to go. Look, they've taken care of their business, and they've taken, again, they took a game off Loud and a game off Pain to substitute for the fact that, looking at this standings graphic, right, they did lose to Los Grandes. They did lose to Red, who feasibly they're going to have to fight for a playoff spot with, at least to some degree. They lost a game to Furia, right, who themselves have lost 6 in a row. It is not good for them, for Furia right now. So I think Liberty's in a bit of a false position. Again, I think Loud are not the 4th best team in the CBLOL. Now, I don't think they're much higher than that, but I don't think they're the 4th best team. Red Canids is the enigma for me. Yeah, I still cannot figure that team out.
Inevitably, just every week, I fail to understand what's going on, because they had the 2-0 week, and every week we're like, you really need to 2-0 now, guys, and they finally did, but it was against INTZ and loss, and like, the loss game is relevant. I think beating loss is a thing that has value. So I feel good about that, and I think that Red Canids are the Oriana games for Grevthar were timely, and I needed to see him win a game on a mage because because I was running out of faith that Grevthar was going to be able to hang. And he did have a couple of very good Oriana games. Him and Aegis were linking up well. We had some Primos energy going on there. It was nice. And then Bronze was playing 80 carries, and I love that. So I think that Red got back to a little bit of what works for them. Like I say, it was a pretty easy week. It was a confidence building week, and we now need to see that continue. But I don't think I'm ever going to be able to give up on them. I think I'm never going to be like, it's over for Red. I'm always going to be like, but they could just do it. They could just be everybody. They could just be any of these teams on the right day.
There's too much talent on that roster. They have a combined 7 CBLOL titles between them, right? And not including FNB, who has consistently been one of the better top laners in the league. Like you can never count them out. But they have been my biggest disappointment. I mean, I picked them to win the split in the beginning.
So
I guess like I don't know how I feel about backing off and reneging on predictions, but if I could, I would. But that's out there. Okay, right? If I had to repick that now, I would not choose Red, but I did pick them in a split in the beginning of the year. And that's looking very, very silly.
Yeah. I love the kind of like false position, not narrative. It's just a good point about how tournaments like this work. I think looking at some of the teams that are in like a false position based on strength of schedule, this is a fun fact. Loud does not play a team that is above 5th currently right now until the final day, and they play VKS. Every other team, it's Fluxu, Los Grandes, Furia, and INTZ. That is the weakest strength of schedule I think that they could possibly hope for.
That's what I'm saying. Like Loud got their
all 5. They could pick up all 5.
Loud got their brutal stretch out of the way, right? 3 of their last 4 games were Pain, K-Stars, and KaBuM, and they won one of those games.
Here's the funny thing about that though, is they win all 5. I don't think they end higher than 3rd if they do that. I think Pain and K-Stars are probably gonna at least be ahead of them. But Loud,
that's my next point.
But Loud does tend to come into playoffs in roughly 4th. Like they tend to kind of end up exactly where they are right now over the regular season. They've just mixed up the order in which they have their slumps and their peaks and their valleys. I still think the problems that we've seen from them have not been solved, and it was just like the fact they lost that Liberty game from so far ahead, and the fact they beat Pain is just I don't know. I think that's just a Pain Loud artifact. This is just a bit of some of the mysticism around the CBLOL where Pain versus Loud is just eternally like outside the realm of anything else of reality. And I still think their problems are going to cost them at least 1 or 2 more of this 5. I don't think they'll clean sweep the last few games.
No, I don't think so either. And a quick one for you.
Oh yeah,
Loud have never won a regular season split.
Yikes!
They've never finished first.
Yeah.
Right. Their finishes since franchising, since 2021, split 1, 4th, 5th, 7th. Right. So that was the first 3 splits, and the last 3 they've won. So in their title winning splits, 4th, 2nd, 3rd.
Yeah. Like if they drop they drop their other game to VKS, perfectly plausible right now. VKS are on a tear. They lose to Los again, I wouldn't be that surprised. And they lose to Red. None of these I would be like crazy. They could lose 3 games, and 9 and what would that be? 9 and 8, and they've failed to make playoffs with 10 wins before. They've been tiebreaking out of playoffs with 10 wins. So it does get a little dicey if they don't actually pick up most of these 5 wins, because so many of our other teams have demonstrated that they can get the wins when they need them. You know, Red can get them, even Liberty can get them, Lost can get them. There are plenty of teams that will be jostling around them at the 9 and 10 mark, so they really need to get that 11th win, or they are going to be sweating, brother, because that would be crazy to go from title, misses playoffs with the same roster. Like, jeez.
Yeah, no, that's really tough. It requires a lot of lower tier teams to win big games, though.
Yes.
Over the next few rounds, which I don't think is impossible, but it's going to be quite the run there. I'm just looking at the schedule. 4x4, you got me to look at the schedule, and it's so interesting.
It is. No, it's really fun, dude.
Yeah, especially the last 2 rounds. There are so many games head-to-heads that I feel like are going to be tiebreakers in that last round. I mean, we got Liberty versus Red, right? 2 of the teams that are like literally right in the middle right now, that have kind of like schedules that they both could win. We could both see both these teams come head-to-head against each other. Then you got Loud versus VKS on the final day of the CBLOL. That's incredible. Really cool stuff. You have to pay for it with games like Pain versus INTZ and stuff, but there's so many that are just like, oh, these teams.
Last game of the split.
Neck and
Come
neck.
on, dude. That's
yeah.
brutal.
The last game of the split is Pain versus INTZ.
Everyone get the early bus home, I guess.
Yeah,
shame.
100%. Even Liberty versus Fluxu, I think, is pretty exciting. But,
yeah, for sure. But these teams make the games exciting, you know? And it's not the game. They don't go in and give us like a clown fiesta of like, why are we watching this? Both these teams don't deserve to win. It's because they're both like trying cool stuff and finding exciting plays and making it competitive. That's what we love, dude.
Definitely. Yep. And love that. I did not reset my timer, but that is okay. Any other final notes about the standings here that we want to talk about? I think
it's gonna be fun down the stretch, man. We've got 2 games separating 4th from 8th. That is super fun.
Yeah, I have, because I'm on a podcast and I'm talking about CBLOL, so I compulsively cannot not mention it. Are you guys worried about KaBuM after last week? How do you guys feel about it? Because and I guess a side point of this is I think we should touch on Showmaker Azir, which infected the CBLOL in a big way on the last game.
Dude.
And I think it went 2-1 or 1-2, one of the 2 of them. But the tank Frozen Heart Azir, where in KaBuM's game against Fluxu, I believe it was, they had like 2, it was very front to back composition, 2 backline DPS carries, low damage frontline. We're just gonna get to objectives and fight you. Azir is like halfway through his 2nd tank item with only 1 damage item, and the enemy Cassante is like 4-0, 5-0, 4 items completed, completely unkillable. And like, surely when we start to see the Cassante racking up kills, are we not just going, let's build a bit of damage? Shall we build a bit of damage? Maybe, so we can do anything. And it felt like the Azir got completely shut down by this build path that they were like, this is the super special build path, and I shall now complete it regardless of what's going on. And I feel like that maybe spoiled their games a little bit, and they kind of, you know, twisted themselves into a knot over it. But how do you guys feel about KaBuM? Because they did have an 0-2 week. We were talking about them as looking like the best team in the league a week or 2 ago. So what's your takeaway, I guess, either of you, on KaBuM after seeing them have their first real stumble of the season?
I mean, I think they're going to be okay. I think this is just kind of this is growing pains. I'm not fundamentally worried about them. Although I don't know, it's weird because I have no actual reason to say this, but if you told me at the end of the split that KaBuM won the title, I'd be like, really?
Yeah.
Like for some reason that would surprise me.
It would surprise me.
I don't know. Like this is very just like it's not the maybe this is the vibesy analysis you come here for, but I don't know. I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna, you know, I could see them in the finals for sure, right? They have a lot of talent. A team with Seos on it, you can never really count out. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think they're gonna be. I think they're gonna be fine. I think they're gonna be fine.
My take was that they're definitely making playoffs, which I think is probably the big question for everybody at the top of the table right now, who's having a tough time. I think they definitely make playoffs. I don't know enough about, I think the player, like specifically when you look at like Malrang, I don't know how he's going to do in best of fives, how he's going to do in the playoffs. So that kind of a big question mark there for me, but definitely a lock for playoffs.
Yeah, it is like, I think that's why maybe you feel surprised. If you're like, KaBuM wins the title, you're like, how's he actually won? Okay, Netuno, he actually got there.
All the ingredients are there.
Okay, like, but it's like, oh, these ingredients that we've known are so strong for so long, but yet we've just never seen them get there. And I think and with Malrang, because it's, you know, how many imports actually win the split on their first split or succeed at all in the CBLOL. We get a lot of like, you know, flash in the pans or duds sometimes with the importing strategies. And the one thing I think that is an actual worry for me, like I say, I still think KaBuM are going to be fine, as you say. I think there's a lot for playoffs.
I definitely want to hear your take on this, Mr. KaBuM.
Yeah,
the biggest issue that I'm having was that Netuno Seos dive where they just completely bottled it.
Oh, that was horrible.
And this was the Fluxu game as well, I think, and just like put themselves way behind. And I'm seeing a lot of flubs in lane from Netuno and Seos still. Outside of lane, we're seeing a lot of good stuff from Netuno. Once he gets going, Seos with a lot of playmaking across the map, all the things we'd expect. But I don't think the 2v2 is very good for these guys at all. And I really expected this to be a better part for them. I guess thinking back, Root and Seos was never like the 2v2 smashers, and
just
like
gonna body you in lane. They were like, it was much more about the mid and late game for sure.
So I think this 2v2 in the lane, bot lane, is maybe the biggest weakness of the entire roster, honestly, because when you're going up against Titan Curry, for example, then you're gonna be pushed in that regard, and I don't feel good about them in a 2v2. So I think if any team's gonna push them, it's down there. If they just go back to like picking the Jinx, farming up out of lane, and then letting Netuno go crazy in the fights, I was loving that from the week before last. So I think we need to keep an eye on that for sure as a possible issue for KaBuM. But yeah, playoffs lock for sure. And I just want to see if they can now, because House went from complete bomb in playoffs to then Fluxu getting the 5 games in losers, but they still ended up losing, like, and I don't think it was his best. So there's progress being made here. House did not gigaflop last time in playoffs, but I'd love to still see more.
When was the last time he won a playoff series?
Because did Fluxu, they didn't win any in either split, I think. They were in 5th, 6th both times and lost in round 1. So
2022 split 1 playoff.
I think KaBuM did win
2022 split 1, they took Red down to the lower bracket and then got 3-0'd by Pain.
And that's when I was like, okay, now my faith is rewarded. It's time for the KaBuM to they're gone.
Yeah.
Oops.
Tough.
Really cool story if they go 0 to hero though. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, all these players, I would love for them to win it, right? I think it'd be hilarious if Malrang came in here and won CBLOL his first try. I think that'd be really funny.
Well, even just the org, right? I mean, I think it's so important for an org to just be like, God, losing season, feeder team, 0-20 or whatever they went.
It felt like,
and to just be like, guys, let's just rally, let's just put some money into it, put some resources into it, and I think
they threw a bag at this roster, dude.
Yeah,
and if it works, I think that's good for the league. I think that like signals to other orgs like, hey, it's just that like how much you're willing to put in. If you put in more, you get more out of it. It's not like a money pit where you're throwing millions at these players or whatever, and nothing's happening. But
and in a funny way, it'd be almost the anti-Fluxu because they were another org that threw a bunch of money at the problem. And it sucks because KaBuM, their last title was the COVID Cup, right? They won the first time Brazil went to Worlds, 2014. They won that one with 17-year-old Tinones, right?
Yeah.
And then they won back-to-back titles with Ranger, Dinketo, and Titan on the same roster in 2018. They won both those titles, MSI and Worlds. And then they won the COVID Cup, 2020 Split 1. They have the second most titles of any Oregon CBLOL. They have more titles than Loud. They have more titles than Pain, right? The only one that has more is INTZ. But that fan base, the KaBuM fan base, they are way smaller than INTZ, Pain, Loud, KaDeStars. KaDeStars a legacy org, right? They're at best the 5th biggest org in Brazil in terms of fan power, right? So I would love to see that for them, for sure.
Yeah, and then the INTZ fans can't say the line anymore once KaBuM has 5. INTZ fans lose their one like attachment to reality.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, that's a welfare 100%. Check them, I think, if that happens. But yeah,
dude, actually,
we're starting to round up. We're starting to wrap up a little bit. As like a last point here, I want to get early playoffs predictions, and I want to hear you guys call your shot. The 6 teams locking in for playoffs. What are they, Trajan?
Okay. Pain, VKS, KaBuM, Loud, for sure. Our top 4 that we thought this was top 4 from day dot, and I think that's borne out. Now, then we get into the Reds, and now lumped in with that, the Liberties, Fluxus, Losses, and I think it's going to be some of these other two of those 4. So, I think that if there is justice, Los gets a spot. If there is CBLOL, Liberty gets a slot. I don't think Fluxu is gonna make it. I think they'll have a bit of a heartbreaker, is just my gut feeling, and that does kind of break my heart a little bit with how Fu, especially in that top side, Fu and Sting, like Sting is a guy that we've just had nothing. Only RMC has been like half-heartedly in the Stings fan club for a while, and even then he wasn't super chuffed with him. So I think Fluxu has done some amazing things with this roster. I don't think they'll get it. I think it's going to be Red Los. That would be my 2 to round it out. But I think that there's just something about this Liberty roster now, man, that I don't know. They're sharking.
Smolder.
They're coming. Yeah. I mean, if we ban Smolder, I think it's see you next split. But I don't think they're gonna do it. I honestly think that like at least half the teams they face won't ban it.
Definitely. What do you think, 404?
I think the top 5 as it stands will make it. Pain, KaDeStars, KaBuM, Loud, Red. I think Pain, KaDeStars, KaBuM will be the top 3 in some order. Loud might finish 3rd or 4th. In a tie maybe with KaBuM. Red, I think they will get in 5th. I do think Los Grandes will get in. And let me tell you, I want to be wrong. I would love for Liberty to make it in, but they would seem even calling them a paper tiger might be unfair because I don't think they're a tiger even. But I think
a paper crane.
I just think paper crane, exactly. There you go. I think they would kind of wilt. But if nothing else, small little detail to watch here. I actually think Fluxu, if not for the fact that they are 0-2 against Los, and that just in that mushy middle, having an 0-2 head-to-head shafts you. That effectively puts you a game, right? Like, Fluxu and Los are tied in the standings. Fluxu is effectively 1 game behind Los because they can't tie with Los and have any shot at a tiebreaker, right? They're 0-2 against them. And they are 0-1 against Liberty as well. So Fluxu I think, even though they're finding kind of this fun little run of form right now, I think Los Grandes is going to be the best poised to take it because, again, and they've got a way easier strength of schedule than Liberty, right? Los Liberty, right? That's a big game at the end of week 8, and then Fluxu versus Liberty at the end of week 9. So going to be a lot to play for here to watch the mushy middle. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What about you, X? Who's getting in?
So the question, once you made some of the assumptions that I am making, which is the top 4 locked in, Trajan, we're on the same page with that.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page too, 404. Is also requires the assumption that INTZ and FURIA are realistically locked out. I'm also on that point as well. You need like 10 or 11 wins, we decided, to get into playoffs, and they have 6 games left, and even if FURIA wins all 6, they can't realistically get in. A bunch of people have to lose. I don't think they're mathematically locked, but
no, not yet.
INTZ aren't even mathematically eliminated, which is insane.
Wow. But realistically locked out. So the question is, between Red, Liberty, Lost, and Fluxu, who makes in, who makes the top 2, and who makes the bottom 2? I think it's Red and Liberty, realistically. I think if someone's going to play spoiler, it's going to be Lost, and then Lost loses excuse me, the head-to-head with Liberty after losing to them here in a few weeks. And Liberty wins the head-to-head with Red coming up in a little bit. Because, oh man, might have gotten my head-to-heads mixed up there. No, I didn't. And after, yeah, so Liberty and Red both still have chances to play games against these bottom 2-tier teams, but Lost can't beat Fluxu, and I don't think Fluxu can beat Red. So Liberty and Red will be locked in for playoffs. That's where I'm at.
Hell yeah. I would like for that to be the case.
But I don't know if they'll still. I don't know if they'll do it again.
I think if anyone plays spoiler, I think it will be Fluxu. I don't know if they beat. I don't know if they make playoffs, but Fluxu to me have like Fluxu have the highest ceiling of these three teams. Liberty of Los. I think Los Grandes have the highest floor. Fluxu have the highest ceiling of Liberty, Fluxu, and Los Grandes.
Yeah, I like that.
I could see that.
This next weekend, I believe, is when things start getting mathematical a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, so. And
that's my favorite part. That's my favorite part, man. The last few weeks.
Yeah. When you start to doing the
getting the foldy sheets out.
Yeah, exactly.
The foldy sheets are fun.
I don't know if we'll get something as hype as the FURIA time attack, but we can hope.
That was so funny.
They took the role away.
I was so pissed I was on a plane for that, dude.
It was awesome.
Oh,
it was awesome. Me and Yeso cast that game, and I had to apologize because I was like speechless.
Yeah, the 16-minute win or whatever it was in the first day, just unreal scenes.
So cool. I'm almost mad that they removed time attack because of that, because it was so high.
Just keep
I understand
it,
why, but
put it below enough layers of genuinely unbreakable rules that if you have it, it has to be completely unfathomable that we got here. But now that you're here, let's do this crazy rule that just forces you to play absolute psychos in your last game.
It has to be one step above coin flip.
Yeah.
A 1 in 10 split thing. I want it to be but if they do it in the next 2 minutes, and then you just see everybody right click on the Nexus, it's like,
oh my god, it's so good, man, on that Saturday. Oh,
that was awesome. Yeah, love the CBLOL, love keeping up with it. But Zanchi, folks at home, that is it for our episode 7 of CBLOL. Nope, not CBLOL, of Gringos Liberados. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Axeman87, 4x4 Trajan here. Go ahead and watch our broadcast, CBLOL_English on Twitch. We got TikToks coming up for you. Follow us on Twitter as well. And until next episode, we'll see you.